It is surprisingly very easy to make ISK in EVE Online, even if you're a alpha clone like I am. And today we will be running a Serpentis Narcotics warehouse that is a dead space site. Now I believe the maximum ship class allowed to enter that site is a destroyer, so we will be running the site with destroyers. I will be flying a Talwar, my friend will be flying one Algos. I think that's a very nice combination, and both ships are ridiculously cheap. Okay, so let's take a look at the ship info. Now the Talwar is a very fast little destroyer, and one of my favorite as well. It's fitted with missile launchers, very good for hit and run tactics. It can do a shield or armor tank, although I personally prefer shield. Immersive destroyer bonus per skill will give you plus 5% bonus to explosive light missile and rocket damage, plus 15% reduction in micro-object signature radius penalty, and the roll bonus 50% bonus to light missile and rocket maximum velocity. Overall, pretty solid for a very cheap T1 destroyer. Now let's go on to the attribute window. Structure 745, capacity 400, mass 1.6 million kilograms, volume 43,000, 5,000 if repackaged, inertia modifier 1.731. The hull is 33% on all damage types. Armor is 960 hit points. Now I have a damage control, and looks like the damage control does affect the resistance. 60 on EM, 35 on thermal, 25 on kinetic, and 10% on explosive. Shield 1.5 is that's the shield capacity. Recharge time 8 minutes and 28 seconds. The resistance 0% on EM, 20% on thermal, 40% on kinetic, and 50% on explosive. There is no electronic resistance. The capacity is 450. The recharge time is 200 seconds, or 245 seconds in my case here. It can lock targets from 41 kilometers. Base distance is 36 kilometers. A 60 meter is the signature radius. Scan resolution is 550 or 632. 9 points on the ladder sensor, maximum flight velocity 358 or 355, and warp speed is 4.5 AU per second. 200 teraflop is the CPU, although I have 240. Power grid is 61.2. The base value is 51. Calibration 250 out of 400 points. The Talwar has 7 missile slots. It is a destroyer that uses missiles. 3 medium slots and 3 low slots, and we have 3 small rig slots. Requirements: Mimata Destroyer level 1, Mimata Frigate level 3, and Spaceship Command level 1. Very easy to skill into this little boat. And the tier 2 version is the Bifrost, a command destroyer, a very fun little one. This ship is very nice, and perhaps in the future it might become my goal for destroyers. And it has some very nice stats as well. Overall, a very interesting little boat. The micro jump field is very useful in some situations. Now on to the build. This build is basically 5 years old, and back then I focused on range and speed. Back then the damage control was an active module. Nowadays the damage control is a passive module. We have the assault damage control that is active for 14 seconds. Now this ship has a bonus on explosive missiles, basically on explosive damage, and in order to have the maximum DPS you fit with the explosive missiles, but in a lot of situations I usually fit the kinetic ones, or I change the missiles to match the resistance hole on the target. I have all the missiles in the ship's cargo hold here. Now I have one sensor booster, one small shield extender, my cooperative is there, dual dual ballistic controls, I believe. Now here I'm just quickly setting up the missiles and just making sure that I didn't mess up the damage type, because you know sometimes it happens that I mess up stuff. And the Nova light missiles do explosive, the Scourge light missiles do kinetic, Mjolnir do EM, and Inferno do thermal. Overall very easy to remember, and looks like I'll also have to go buy some missiles very soon. So this boat is built for maximum speed and maximum range. One thing that I will change, I'll probably replace the damage control into a ballistic control, and I'll probably add some of the DPS rigs. Current rigs are for missile range, so not ballistic controls. My apologies. I would love to slap one medium shield extender into this ship, mostly because that's what I do on my frigates, and for that I need to use more power. But this is definitely a build that I imagine to use in a fleet. Not really ideal for PvE, although it will work. This is the build that I will use for the Serpentis Narcotics site that I will start doing, that we will start to do in couple minutes here. So yeah, definitely room for improvement on Talwar, and I plan to improve the DPS on this boat by a lot. Okay, now before we jump at the site, I always recommend everyone to go onto the EVE wiki, and basically you can see what you can expect in the site. So we have the Serpentis Narcotic Warehouse, and this is a dead-rated combat site belonging to Serpentis Corporation, Pirate Faction. It can be found via exploration by scanning signatures in high security and low security systems, or by getting escalation from Serpentis Hideaway and Serpentis Refugee. Now, cruisers Tech 2 cruisers can enter. This is probably wrong because we tried to enter with cruisers, but it didn't allow us. So it might be outdated in some aspects, but most of the information is very accurate. So this site is for destroyers because it did not let us enter with cruisers. So the reward is a potential A-type and Shadow Serpentis faction module, as well as a Daredevil blueprint. Overall, the rewards are already pretty juicy, and rating 3 out of 10, high, low and null. Max ship size, again it says cruiser, but it is a destroyer site. Damage to deal, kinetic and thermal. Damage to resist, kinetic and thermal. Or in my case, I am a speed tank, so I should be good. Walkthrough. So the Serpentis Narcotic Warehouse consists of a total of 5 dead space pockets. Due to branch nature, only 4 of them need to be entered to get the final reward. We will do all of them. First pocket, the fastest way is through the first initial gate. You have 15 frigates. They use dampeners, which might be annoying because dampeners reduce your targeting distance. And you have a bunch of structures, supply traffic management, and the minor supply container drop loot. Most of the loot in these containers is not really that important. Can drop ammo, can drop some other stuff like that. Second pocket, check in tunnel. 18 frigates, they use the dampeners. Structures, 1 staff quarter, Serpentis container, charge ammunition storage, and 1 acceleration gate. 3 drop loot, most of them drop ammo or other items similar to ammo, but in our case it was mostly ammo. Second pocket, security corridor. Gate to the third room is 55 km from Warpin, and you can read the initial description of that over here. The defenders, 28 frigates. They use the dampeners, 1 sentry turret, and 1 overseer cruiser that can drop very nice stuff, the so-called Pinata target, because yeah, it can drop some very juicy stuff. And structures, we have 1 gate, and there is 1 charge ammunition storage. Third pocket, central warehouse. Gate to the 4th room, 45 km from Warpin. Initial defenders, 16 frigates, 1 overseer cruiser, and 4 sentry turrets. The overseer cruiser is the piñata, basically that's your main goal. It can drop some juicy stuff, and you have a bunch of structures as well. The structures drop ammunition and again other things similar to that. And fourth pocket, administration sector. The Serpentis supply stronghold has a lot of hit points, so it is recommended to bring a high DPS ship. It does not, however, repair itself. Shooting it will aggro all ships. Initial defenders, no aggro until attacked. 31 frigates, 1 overseer cruiser, and 3 sentry turrets. They use dampeners. Even the cruisers also use dampeners, so keep that in mind. And structures. Now here is where you can get the A types, and this is the place where you can get the Daredevil blueprint. Basically, you have to destroy the station, and when you destroy the station, this is the potential loot that you can get from the site. Overall total of about 500 million for a site that you can do with a destroyer. And that is fantastic. This is easily doable with an alpha clone, easily doable with a extremely cheap ship. As you can see, my Talwar and my friend's Algos will be very, very cheap. The so-called ghetto builds that we use. Overall, a very interesting way how to make ISK, and so far we have been quite successful doing the sites. We did get a lot of ISK from them, and we basically started to actively play about 7 days ago. So definitely, if you prefer combat, I 100% recommend that you try out to do the Dead Space sites, and I'll try to give you a very nice walkthrough on how to do them. I have several of them already lined up, and I'll be uploading them and releasing them as quickly as I can. So we are now at the gate, preparing to warp. My friend is double checking the wiki there to see what gate we should enter. Now we will go through the tunnel, I guess, through the check-in tunnel, because that's the gate that can give you apparently more loot. And since we are after the loot, we will go through all of the ships one by one, and we will go from the first room to the last room. I really like the PvE aspect in this game. It is very fun. It is challenging, and it does reward very nicely. So far, these little sites have been very good. Okay, we are about to warp. If I miss something, the explanation will probably be in our chat, in the fleet chat. So you can use the fleet chat as a guide as well. And we are warping to the first room. Well, I'm warping because the tower is apparently really ridiculously fast. And this is how the first room looks. You have 2 acceleration gates. They will be at about 51 kilometer away from you. And as you enter, more enemy ships will spawn. I usually target the closest one, or we start from left to right. Kinetic damage is preferred because looks like they have no resistance on kinetic. Now keep in mind, if you are flying with your friend, if you have a lower standing with Serpentis than your friend, they will focus you first. And this is basically what's happening here. They have a lot of dampeners, and dampeners can be really annoying if you are built for a long-range kite build like my ship is. Now the reason why I use EM and explosive missiles right now is the fact that I forgot to reload ammo. I have like 200 missiles left in the cargo hold, and with 200 missiles I'm not going to be lasting until the last room. So That's why I use the current missile that I have equipped. So in order to maximize the clear time, in order to clear this as quickly as possible, try to shoot the targets at the resistance hole, in this case kinetic and thermal. And I have the exact opposite, which is kind of ironic, but I guess okay. The first room will be very easy. You can go and basically destroy all of the structures. There's the supply container there as well that is destructible, that also can drop loot. Every room can drop you some very nice stuff. And I would recommend, and my friend also recommends, that you go through the check-in tunnel if you want to have the chance to obtain most loot, and this is the path that we will take. Now my friends will loot. My friend is built for tank, I'm built for speed and for long range. Kinda very interesting combination. Approaching the acceleration gate, and when the order is given, we will jump in. Now because I'm using the wrong damage types, it might take a minute or two longer than usual to clear everything, of course. Okay, second room. They will spawn after you land. They will be in a very similar position. Now when I land, I usually try to take range immediately, because you know there's a chance that they could carry a web or scrambler. There are, I believe, stasis towers that can slow you down, and you definitely don't want to get webbed. Although I don't see any stasis tower at the moment, but just in case, I recommend that you act with your ship like there's always a threat of being scrambled or webbed. So maximum alertness, and always fly at your own optimal range. If you're a kite, then long range. If close range, then I guess range will not matter, because you will probably be approaching the targets. Although for the stars, I personally prefer long range. As for the Talwar, I personally prefer long range. That's how I have been flying this ship for a long time. This is a 5-year-old Talwar, by the way, with a 5-year-old build that will be changed very soon. Although I kinda enjoy the long range aspect of the ship. 64km range with the missile, 61km lock range. I think that's pretty good. However, I could also use some extra DPS. And we are clearing the site very quickly so far. Again, the Talwar has a lot of alpha damage, and most of your targets will be frigates and the stars. The elite cruisers will appear in the later rooms, and they can be scary. If you don't have a good tank, it might become problematic. So make sure, if you are going with a tanky build, make sure that you have a lot of thermal and a lot of kinetic resistance. Preferably a shield tank, although in the end it really does depend on what ship you fly. Armor tanks will be armor tanked, shield tanks will be shield tanked. And the second room has been cleared, reloading the missile launchers and now approaching the acceleration gate. We can see the layout of the boxes and the layout of the structures, very similar to the first room, although with one less gate, because the first room has 2 gates. Now, I've heard that if you have to warp out, that the site will disappear. So make sure that you don't warp out, and make sure that your ship is ready for action. Now, this might look easy, although I'm fairly sure I have seen a lot of players warp in and warp out with a pod. That's how we figured out that the sites disappear if you fail them. Some sites require the keys, and if you loot the box with the keys and if you die inside, other players cannot enter unless they buy the keys from the contracts or unless they obtain the key in some other way. So that's one of the tricks that you can write down. I'm waiting for my friend to finish looting and then we can go enter the gate. So far only ammo from the boxes. Usually they do drop only ammunition. Not really sure if only missiles, but I guess if they drop missiles they can be useful to reload a little bit, but usually that will be used up very quickly once you start shooting the targets. And next room we have 2 Serpentis turrets, sentry guns, and a lot of other, actually 4 of them, I apologize, 4 sentry guns. More of the ships are spawning in. Serpentis sentry gun. Okay, so there is no Serpentis stasis tower, which is good. The only problem here would be dampeners. And again, dampeners can be extremely annoying. I have like 4 dampeners on me. My range is crippled. But that's fine. While they focus on me, my friend can focus on shooting them. I can combat that if I were to enhance the sensor booster, but I think I'll go with extra DPS on the Talwar. This is my PvE Talwar, although the original build that I had in mind 5 years ago was a fleet build PvP Talwar. This thing is so fun, so much fun in a fleet. The Talwar is one of the more fun destroyers, especially with its alpha damage. It can easily get up to 1,000, 1,500 alpha, which you know is actually a lot. That kills frigates. It's a very scary little destroyer, and it applies that damage really well to the target. Okay, now later on I think I might split my missiles. Basically I send one missile group to one target and the other to the other target. That way we were clearing the rats a lot faster. Although if you don't have enough alpha with your missile group to pop one, then focus both missiles on one target and then you focus down on the other target. This is, by the way, completely doable solo with the same ship, with the same build, with just a slightly changed orbit. The orbit that I would set would be about 30-25 kilometers with the micro warp drive, and I would probably replace the sensor booster into, I would say, maybe a shield booster or maybe something along those lines. Perhaps something to improve the capacitor, but definitely something that will enhance the tank of this little boat. Although I believe that the Talwar is made to be used as a kite. However, the rocket launchers can also be very fun. They have higher DPS and a much faster rate of fire. Okay, well, we have a bunch of other ships left to kill. The Pinata target is being killed, and there goes the Overseer cruiser. You have 3 or 4 Overseer cruisers that all have a potential to drop very expensive stuff, so I set 500 million as like an average number. about 500 million average, if you know, if all of these ships drop something. However, let's say you get a very good roll, and let's say every ship drops something useful and expensive. Perhaps we're looking at about 800 million, perhaps a billion. I don't know. That's my estimate. Again, it really depends on what type of module it drops. So, for a destroyer site, you can get a lot of ISK, and you don't have to fly something fancy. And I think the beauty of PvE in this game is the fact that you can do basically everything that you want to do with a very cheap ship. We did the Fee outpost with Ghetto cruisers, and now we are doing something very similar, just for a destroyer. And we have high hopes that it will drop some very nice stuff. PvE in this game, for me at least, is much more enjoyable than PvE in Echoes. In Echoes, the PvE can get really boring at points, and that's one of the reasons why I personally wasn't really able to run PvE in that game, because I usually fall asleep, and yeah, don't fall asleep while playing if that's not a good idea. In this game, it's actually quite engaging, and it's very fun, much more fun. This is the last couple of ships left. I'm trying to figure out what other destroyer is going to work for me. I think the cavalry destroyer would also suit me well, although I still feel like the Talwar is the ship for me. This ship in total costs 2.5 million. The build and the rigs about 2.5 million. That's when I checked last time. Of course, the price does fluctuate constantly. It goes up and down depending on the region where you buy it. In some regions it's actually a lot more expensive. In some regions it's a lot more cheaper. But overall, an average of 2.5 million. That's how much this Talwar costs. And if you're a new player, and if you are looking for a very cheap boat that runs well, a Talwar would probably be the way to go. The Thrasher can also work. However, for some reason I simply just prefer this ship. The Thrasher can have some crazy alpha damage, and the Thrasher is a troll ship, which means you can get a bunch of Thrashers and just troll an Aster or a Stratius or something like that in high sec. And we have plans to do that. Currently we are enjoying the PvE aspect of the game, and my goal is to show you guys in a very easy and fun way how to potentially get a lot of ISK. Even if you don't get a lot of ISK, on average you will be getting about 50 million, 100 million, which honestly is still really solid for a destroyer. And let's go on to the next room, and this is the last room. There is the station, and let's start removing the ships. 45 kilometers, 57 kilometers from the station. First, we go after the rats to make the Pinata ship come out. I think the Pinata ship already came out. It's that cruiser on the lower part of the station. And of course, they hate the rusty Talwar. I really wish that the Talwar had a Navy fleet version, because I would probably be flying that right now. That's how much I like the Talwar, but unfortunately there is only one Talwar, and it's this one. The other variation of this ship is the Bifrost. Meanwhile, the Thrasher has the Thrasher fleet. Maybe I should also fly the Thrasher fleet. I have some good skills for cannons. I have overall good skills for most of the ships that I fly. I have a very, well, no, not exactly a new ship, but one of my favorite ships coming up really soon. Basically, I just have to log in, buy it, and fly it back. The only problem is that playing Eve is a bit more, well, it's a PC game, and let's say if you don't have a lot of time for the PC, it might get, you know, a little problematic with the market stuff and such. This is why Echoes was so special and so interesting, because you can literally play it anywhere. But who knows? Android 13 supposedly can run desktop Windows applications natively, so hopefully that's going to happen, and then you can just play EVE Online on your phone. How will that work? How will that work? And look, I have no idea, but that's what I heard. Overall, the cross-platform stuff is picking up speed, and very soon it might actually be a reality. Okay, there is the Pinata Cruiser. Well, we call it Pinata Cruiser. It's a fun way to describe the loot that can drop. And this little thing is quite tanky. It does feel like shooting the Overseer battleship with cruisers. And this one decided to yeet. Okay, well, I'm shooting it on the wrong damage type, so that's why it might look like I'm doing less damage, but don't be surprised, these things can be tanky, and it does take some time to kill them. Again, completely doable solo, and the only thing that you need is a lot of ammo, a lot of time, and, well, not exactly a lot of time, but you should have a bunch of free time in order to do these sites, and a bunch of ammunition to be able to shoot for a very long time, and of course, most importantly, you have to know how to approach the situation. Don't yeet in the blob, because that's how a lot of ships that I have seen have died. Basically, we start from left to right. First we clear the rats from the left, and then we progress toward the center and then to the right. Basically, that's how we do it, and that's how I would also recommend that you do it. There are some sites where you have to pick targets carefully, because some of the rats have some of the rats are spawn triggers, which means if you kill them, if you shoot them, they will spawn a lot more ships that will chase you. So that's why it is very important to follow a guide, to read the wiki, because all sites have been described in detail over there. It might be a little bit outdated in terms of what ship can enter the site, but the information there is very accurate, and it's very helpful, and it did help us. So that's why I also have decided to make this walkthrough, or this guide on how to run these sites, and this is the first one that I have decided to cover. Okay, sentry turret is destroyed. Let's go on to the next one. So far, the pinata kill was empty, by the way, so that also can happen. Sometimes the wrecks can be empty. You can also use a salvage alt and salvage all the wrecks. I believe the Serpentis wrecks, the faction ships that we kill here, can be valuable. The salvaged loot might be useful. I think they also did change that a long time ago, so that the wreck gives good stuff. Just a couple more ships left, and then we can proceed to blast the station. Now, as the guide said, the station has a lot of hit points. However, that's not a big problem, because after you kill all ships, all the rats, no other rats will spawn, so you have a lot of time to destroy the station, and the station can drop some very nice stuff. And then basically once you kill the station, the site will be completed. However, we still have some ships left to kill here. So far we have been doing really well. Would be a little bit faster if I didn't forget to load the proper ammunition. So again, make sure that you have the right ammo for the targets. That way you will kill them a lot faster. Nothing wrong. I mean, nothing wrong with shooting them with the wrong ammunition. However, that will just make the whole run a lot longer. So it is just simply much better to shoot them on the lower resistance, or in this case thermal and kinetic, because that's their lowest res. That's the res hull on the ship. Same can be also said for the station, and the station has the same holes. Well, the station about to have a lot more holes, not just holes in the tank. Oh no, the station about to have a lot more holes from the rockets or missiles or drones, because there's a lot of you know, I'm actually thinking if I should go and fit the Talwar with T2 stuff, just to make it a bit more expensive. Not really sure what's the damage increase from T1 to the other tier 2. I think the damage might be significant. I also can use faction missiles or tier 2 missiles. Have skills for those as well. So I can get a lot more DPS out of this little ship. Again, this is a very cheap build for starting basically, until I learn all the sites, and then once I get a hang of how everything works, then I might just yeet out a more expensive Talwar, because why not? My goal, perhaps about 150 DPS, something like that, which, you know, is pretty good, pretty okay for the store. I'm still happy with my current DPS, although not really built for DPS, built more for range and for kiting and for alpha damage, but I can definitely improve that DPS, and I can make the Talwar more lethal. Okay, I'm reloading missiles, and once the reload is done, let's open fire. The station is in hull. Just a little bit left. Not really sure how the Talwar would work with rocket launchers. I know rocket launchers have a very short range, and for that I would probably have to run the ship with a active tank with an afterburner. However, the Talwar is made to be used with a micro overdrive because it has the bonus on it, the signature radius penalty bonus. So that's why I mostly run the Talwar in this way, although there is probably a million other builds that you can use. Not really sure how an armor tank Talwar would work. There is probably a use for that one as well. Perhaps an armor tank Talwar can be used in Amar space or Blood Raider space, where they do EM and thermal, because armor already has some nice EM and thermal resistance. So that might help with the tank. The station is now into very low hull. I also love the missile animations, they are very nice. and the station has been destroyed. Fingers crossed for good loot. That actually was very fun. And once you loot, the site is basically completed. Let's enjoy the fireworks, because why not? There we go. Station has been yeeted. A very nice picture. Not really sure what will the thumbnail be for this video, but I'll try to come up with something good looking. It's a little bit difficult for me to build to make thumbnails lately. Not really sure why that's the case, but I'll try my best. And we got 223 million. We got some A-types, A-type multi-spectrum coating, an adaptive hardener, 150 million, a B-type multi-coating, okay, also quite expensive, lovely. 110 million, nice. Well, that's actually a bit more than 220 million, but overall, a really good catch, and you get that with a bunch of very cheap destroyers. Literally one of the cheapest ships that I had, and it makes back. Overall, a very good one. And an A-type small armor repair, okay, that's lovely. What is next? A Shadow Serpentis thermal coating, okay. And I think that is about it. Overall, this was the Serpentis Narcotics warehouse. A very fun and can be a very profitable little site that is for the stores. Doesn't have to be very expensive, as you can see. Very cheap tier 1 the stores were able to clear this without a problem. And well, with that being said, I hope that you have enjoyed. Hope that I could help you at giving you a guide to clear this very interesting and, in this case, quite the profitable site. With that being said, if you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. I love you all. Fly safe, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.